Hey, this is the Wisdom of Solomon from the Apocrypha, and this is looking at chapter 1, and this is the part 2 of the chapter 1, which looks at the whole purpose of understanding the righteousness, or only the fact that only the righteous can attain wisdom, and the basis that wisdom is a loving spirit, and love is giving, love is growth, love is multiplication, and multiplication is mathematic, and a person who has math is a person who has a path. So wisdom is about solving problems so that you can have a mathematical solution, or you can have a pathical solution, or empathical solution. This is the goal of wisdom, to have empathy in your path. So having this understanding of wisdom is having the true power of the understanding of King Solomon. So when God gave Solomon wisdom, what he says is that, hey, your wisdom is going to be unparalleled in the whole of the earth, because no one else is going to be as wise as you. And then at the same time, his father David is saying to his ancestors that, hey, I know more than the ancients because I can learn from them and do all of these things. But what it's actually referring to, and it says, when God says like no one is going to be able to catch up to you, is speaking about the wives that Solomon had, because he had like 1,000 different women that were affiliated with him in a sexual matrix. So this is how he had so much fruitfulness, so much math, because he was fruitful and he was multiplying. And this is the commandment that he was following. So having so many wives cannot be replicated by anyone. So having that 1,000 wives is what it's speaking about, that no one is going to be able to match up to his wisdom, because anyone who can have 1,000 wives is super duper wise, right? Anyone who has 1,000 wives is proving his wisdom. So in this day and age, it is nearly impossible for a person to have 1,000 wives. So this is the unparalleled wisdom of Solomon. And even back in that day, like having 1,000 wives and having them all be loyal to you and writing you music and the songs of Solomon, it's crazy, right? So it's not crazy, it's amazing. So it's wise, so it's the path, so it's the math. So he was able to calculate, because we're speaking about large numbers of women and children and families. So he was always calculating. It's all mathematics. So for wisdom is a loving spirit, and will not acquit a blasphemer of his words. For God is witness of his reins, and a true beholder of his heart, and a hearer of his tongue. All right. So the reigns that are being referred to are speaking about rulership, like how a king reigns. It's also speaking about how we have to girdle our tongue, and it's also speaking about the actual reign, which is creating fruitfulness on the earth through righteousness and salvation. All right. So this is what the reign is representing, and the tongue is the language. So, for the Spirit of the Lord fills the world, and that which contains all things has knowledge of the voice. Therefore he that speaks unrighteous things cannot be hid, neither shall vengeance when it punishes pass by him. So everyone gets what they reap from the words, because of the reign, because of the order of things. And for inquisition shall be made into the counsels of the ungodly, and the sound of his words shall come unto the Lord for the manifestation of his wicked deeds. For the ear of jealousy hears all things, and the noise of murmurings is not hid. Therefore beware of murmurings, which is unprofitable, and refrain your tongue from backbiting. For there is no word so secret that shall go for naught, and the mouth that belies slays the soul. Seek not death in the era of your life, and pull not upon yourself the destructions of the works of your hands. For God made not death, neither had he pleasure in the destruction of the living. For he created all things that they might have their being, and the generations of the world are healthful, and there is no poison of destruction in them, nor the kingdom of death upon the earth, for righteousness is immortal. But ungodly men and their works and their words called it to them, for they that thought it to be their friend, they consumed not, and have made a covenant with it, because they are unworthy to take part with it. So this whole entire chapter, from where I've read, is speaking about the love, and speaking about the reign, speaking about fruitful, speaking about multiplication, the path, and the wise. So the key to understand here is a very, very simple lesson, and a very effective one indeed, that as long as you have the power of your words, then you have the power of the sword. swords. So having the good tongue is having a good heart, and having a good heart is having so having a good tongue is also like having a good path, because what you reap is what you're gonna sow or what you're gonna get back. So it is essential and key to understand that everything that we say is planting a seed, and this seed is coming back and reproducing the same caliber of thoughts that were injected into that word. So everything that is happening in this book is speaking about the words and the word of God, and how everything that came about because of the word of God, which is the word of God that came to life. And this is the first page in the book of John, that the word became flesh. So our words are the world, and the world is the universe, and everything that is happening in the world is governed by our words, which is giving us the ideal thoughts or the ideology and the logic. So having the right words is having good articulation, and having good articulation leads to a person being fluent in language, because God is speaking about tongue, and a tongue is language. He's speaking about voice, and voices are used in language. He's speaking about words, and words are used in language. So he's speaking about a person being fluent. So this book, this word, or this understanding, this wisdom is meant to give you fluency or influence. So a person who has great articulation is a person who is great at creating art. So your life becomes a work of art. How great thou art. And this is how we are created in the same image of God, by his words or by his articulations, to be a figure of speech, or a figure. A figure is a number. And here we're speaking about numbers, multiplying and path and math and everything to do with 1,000 Solomon wives, right? So having this mathematical understanding is giving you the power of influence, because influence is the flow, which is the consistent, which is the continuous. And this is how a river flows, and this is how a path goes. This is the way, which is continuous, and this is the flow. So going with the flow is not to be taken by the spirit of the world, but it is to have a path that is calculated to get you to a heavenly destination, regardless of how far you walk and what you're doing. This is the guarantee of success. And this all comes through how you sow the word and how it flourishes, because God will give you what you have put in. So even a blasphemer will be put into account for his words, and even the righteous will be put into account for his words. So the logical path, or the logical math, is to solve all of your problems by having a mathematical solution, or having an empathic. So this is the goal, to have empathy in your path as a king who rules on this earth. And this is how you become fruitful in everything that you do. And this is how you live life like art. This is the articulation. This is how you begin to gain influence. And this is the first chapter in this book. This is how to gain influence, and what influence is. Influence is influence. So this is having the articulation, or the art in your words, and this is your art in your lexicon. And through this, you're able to do so many great things that we're going to get to into detail as we go through this book. So yeah, how great thou art, how great thou articulation, and how great your power through your words and how you use them.